like 2024 just flew by. I mean, I feel like I should be ready to start celebrating the 4th of July instead of a brand new year coming right around the corner. But then again, we did have a lot of weird and wacky things that did happen throughout this year, like, for some reason, the rise of Skippity Toilet to some pretty interesting and fun movies here and there. Deadpool's really good, I love Transformers 1, The Wild Robot tugged on my strings, and Wicked was a pretty fun musical. After 10 years of waiting, we're finally seeing something with the Minecraft movie and a few trailers here and there. We have yearned for the mines for far too long, but now we yearn no more. Mr. Beast had a lot of controversies this year. Indie animation took a big W this year with things like Digital Circus making the rounds. And I am not one to talk about politics, but man, there was a lot of politics this year. And while all this craziness has been happening, I've just been chilling, having a good time, making the best videos I could possibly make over 2024. And I gotta say, I feel like 2024 was probably the best year in terms of like videos I've ever had. Like, there's seriously some really high moments and some really intriguing and interesting parts of videos that I never thought I'd be able to do. And I think a lot of it can be equated to be using Flip-A-Clip a lot more this year for a lot more videos. But yeah, now that 2024 is over, I want to take a moment to look back at some of the videos I made and point out some of the best ones I made throughout 2024. Like, you remember that time mobs were literally falling from the sky and we had to fight them off to get ourselves out from this voided world we fell into? Videos like those, well, for most of this one, not really like too grand or anything like that, was still a lot of fun to put together and showed the very first like major moment of me using some form of 2D animation at the very end. And I think it is that last like minute or so of video that really makes it shine for this entire video. The rest of it was a lot of fun too, having to just figure out how to defeat certain types of mobs. It just comes literally out of nowhere, like I had no idea what to expect from coming from it. But something I can expect is pretty much anything that's to do with lore is just a lot of fun to actually put together and a lot of fun to actually look back on. But even the less lore heavy based videos are still a lot of fun to make, such as that time where I had to gather 1 million pieces of copper in survival Minecraft. The Tricky Trials update was coming around the corner, adding a whole slew of brand new types of copper blocks, and I figured to prepare, I would gather 1 million pieces of copper in survival Minecraft. Now, for the most part, it was relatively simple. Just go mining, make copper farms, and things like that. But the process and the length of time it took to get that amount of copper was still a very long and at times grueling process. But was still so much fun to make, especially considering the video part of it. Which I guess this entire thing was the video part of it. But what I'm getting at is all the actual animation parts of it that I added in this one video was actually one thing that I really enjoyed. Yes, I did start adding some animation bits here and there, but I think as far as I know, this is probably the first time where I actually added like official animation to a single video, such as the time I was explaining smelters and furnaces, such as the times days were going by, and plenty of different types of things like that. It also set me up with a whole bunch of copper I could actually use at some point. I don't exactly know when, but at some point I actually have all the copper I want to use for building up plenty of different things inside of Triple S. When that will happen, I'm not exactly sure, but the process of getting it, while grueling at times, was still so much fun to actually do looking back at it. Something else that took a long time to make was this blob from Sentience. Back when the Evil Me was causing havoc in the season with my huge spaceship, one of the ripples of his effects actually landed on the spaceship, and this one ripple, unlike the other versions from my evil counterparts, actually had the ability to come to life for some reason. We then see this blob I call Sentience searching around this crashed spaceship, looking around each room, each corridor, each hallway, even inside the Nether temporarily, to try and find its purpose in life. When it eventually does, its goal is set and it goes on a rampage doing nothing but this one single goal. And I mentioned a lot about animation already in this one video, and yeah, this was the year I've really stepped into animation, whether it be from Minimator, Flip-A-Clip, or stop motion like what we see with Sentience. Every single movements, every single block moves, and everything like that, that was a single frame I actually had to build by hand and move it again over and over and over again until we get the eventual final version of Sentience having as fluid of motions as we physically can. And I think, not to pat myself on the back too much, but I think the movements of Sentience is just so satisfying to see. It's obviously not as smooth as some other stop motion products out there, but for me, for someone who took on this challenge on my own, I am very happy with the end product and how it actually looks. And I'm actually very happy with how this really felt like kind of a silent film for the vast majority of it, because apart from a little bit of commentary from me at the beginning, there was pretty much nothing inside of here, apart from maybe like some echoes that this thing kept hearing every now and then. This was completely silent of this thing just wandering around the spaceship and just finding its purpose in life. I don't feel like we get stories like this much anymore, where we have to focus on like what the character is acting like as opposed to what it's saying. Sometimes there's things like that here and there, but I'm glad I was able to make something that was very much so akin to things like that. And several episodes later, we see this thing on the brink of actually completing its task. After I see this blob thing literally consume one of my friends right in front of me, I take actions into my own hands in doing everything I physically can in stopping this one thing and not letting all my friends' deaths be in vain. I'll be honest, I was mildly unsuccessful in doing that, but I was transported to a place akin to the outer universe and talked to this really mysterious and unknowing being. This eventually did lead us into falling into Cosmic Voided, but the buildup of trying to defeat this thing and the buildup of just trying to learn everything we physically can about this thing was just so intriguing to me. That, and again, lore is just so much fun to tell. Making stories is like such a treat for me. That, and also there's a lot of firsts this year, but this is actually the first time I really made use of command blocks and actually building up like entire structures and entire like set pieces and everything else like that. And while the season finale didn't end as nicely as we would have liked it to, the build up to the season finale, as well as the effort in me trying to stop it, was just such a satisfying and huge events for this entire cosmic season, pretty much as a whole. And it did eventually lead us into one of the most unique cosmic seasons we have ever been able to play on. Something else that was pretty cool to play was this epic version of Megalovania I made in Noteblocks. For the past couple years, I've been trying to make at least a few epic versions of existing songs. Last year was of Lil Jack Horner, and this year is of Megalovania. I don't do songs like these too often, considering just how long the process actually takes in making them, but for when I make them, they actually turn out really well. I mean, just take a listen at this one. Every single one of those note blocks you see, every single one that was played, was placed by hand, by me. Like I've been repeating for most of this video, there was a lot of process, but the process ended up being so worth it because the end product is such a great thing to listen to. I have a few ideas as to what I'm going to do in 2025. Let me know down below if there's any you want to hear. But for this year's epic note block cover, Megalovania definitely covers it. But something that doesn't fully cover it is episode 1 of my Pokebedrock series. I am not a Pokemon player. I really don't know anything, and I really just went in this completely blind, but despite that, I really had a fun time just like exploring and learning aspects about Pokemon. And even though I've done like a couple episodes on the series so far, I'm still far from an expert, but I do feel like this first episode was really my jumping in point for Pokemon and things like that. I mean, you could really see it when I try exploring like different types of Pokemon, when I find Charmanders, when I try battling and fail battling. Thanks a lot, Jade. And when I try just settling down, there's still a lot of Pokemon-based aspects I ran across when just trying to do things I just normally do in Minecraft. Does this series mean I'm gonna eventually turn into a Pokemon expert? Probably not, but I can at least now say that I've had some experience in the Pokemon universe. Where it goes from here and for how long, I can't say for certain, but for the time being, I'm having such a fun time just learning about Pokemon, just like doing all the evolving stuff and doing everything normal Pokemon players actually do. But something that's not quite as normal is this brand new unique song that I customly made for the Tricky Trials update I called Trickety Trials. Very fitting name, I know. To celebrate the Tricky Trials update actually releasing, instead of just doing like maybe a recap of literally every single thing inside the update, I tried to do something that I could probably do that's a little bit more unique than other types of videos you might see across YouTube and things like that. Making an entirely unique song that really does fit the theme of the update, and I think when you actually listen to it, it really does feel like this should be a part of the game. Even though this is just like a fan-made song, I mean, just take a listen to this. Maybe there's a little bit more pop in this song or something like that, but I think generally I tried making this feel as close to a Minecraft song as I physically can, and I think overall it really does, which is way more than what I could say to My Roots, another brand new unique song I made for the Garden Awakens update. And unlike the Trickety Trials song which I made, which really tried feeling like it fit inside of Minecraft, this one, it doesn't. It really doesn't. But I think it benefits from that. This whole song, I wanted to make it feel like a transition from being in a peaceful forest and garden to a very dangerous and suspicious garden, such as like what we see inside the Pale Garden. And on top of that, I tried making just a small little story you could actually follow along while listening to this entire song. I think personally though, I like the song of Trickety Trials just a little bit more, but the video aspect of To My Roots just elevates this one video way above that one to me, and it really shows just how much fun you could really have inside the Pale Garden, well, how much danger you could also have inside the Pale Garden. Almost as dangerous as being inside a huge world with a huge wall of nothing but doors you could go into, trying to find your way out over and over and over again and having no luck whatsoever. I feel like the best way I could describe the Echoes video is kind of like Alice in Wonderland, where you're dropped into a world without rules, and how almost any type of aspect or any type of thing could actually happen inside this world. And when actually watching the video, yeah, it definitely does feel like that. It definitely does feel like there is no pattern, there is no aspect, there's no manner in which you could see in escaping this thing. The only pattern is this blob thing that keeps coming back over and over and over again. And I think something that really elevates this one video is the amount of sets I actually built for it. From a huge version of my house, like maybe a small little like interior world, to like a sky island, to several of the different types of things like that. And as the theme follows, there's a lot of cool animation inside of here. From 2D animation to really cool 3D animation, again, if I do say so myself. Videos like Echoes really show just what you can really do inside the game and inside of Minecraft related things you can actually do. It is a lot of effort, it is a lot of planning, it is a lot of just thinking out about how the story should go, but when you end up with an end product where you're so happy and satisfied, like, you could really look back and say all that effort was worth it. But easily, there's no competition, without a doubt. The Story of Mr. Chris is my favorite video of this year, and probably of all time that I've made. This video took well over 2 years to make, mainly because of the 2D animation. This is the very first thing I actually decided to really lead into for animation. I wanted to try making a almost fully animated video, but having a reason for it to be animated, and I feel like it really does show inside this video. And while I could talk about like what happens inside this video, I really don't want to spoil it. Of all videos I mentioned inside this one single video, this is the one I would want you to see. If nothing else, this is the one I would really love for you to see. Because from the story to the twist to the animation to everything else like that, it's just so absolutely phenomenal that I'd rather not ruin it for you and just let you see it yourself. If you've seen the video, I really don't know when I'm going to be able to continue the story, but at least for this video on its own, this easily tops all my videos. This is an inflection point of my entire channel. This is, without a doubt, my favorite video I have possibly ever made and will make for a very, very long time. And while I don't know what 2025 is going to look like in terms of YouTube, I can at least say 2024 was an absolutely fantastic year, and I am so proud of everything I and all of us managed to do. But yeah, for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.